Hey, everybody. It is time to spill the spirituality. And I'm Reverend Rob Banaszak, and I'm here with my wonderful spiritual super pal, Hilary Loewenstein of Hilary's Mindful Living.
Hello,
Hey, how are
everybody.
you?
I am doing great. I would like to show my beautiful
Look at
happy
this.
holiday sweater.
She
Isn't
is in the spirit. Look at that. I love the sunglasses.
that great?
I love the sunglasses.
And I jingle.
You got it going on. So the fact that you're wearing this sweater, kind of like instantly puts me to where I want to steer us today, which is it's a beautiful Christmas sweater and you're Jewish. And you have a Christmas tree every year, and you are Lady Christmas in your neighborhood and with your family. And so I just want to know a little bit more about how you are having an ugly Christmas sweater and are in the spirit. And I don't have any Christmas sweaters, ugly or otherwise. And I was a Catholic kid with lots of Christmas growing up. So tell me about this.
And before I do that, let's just say what our topic's going to be today in general for anyone who just started learning or who just turned us on. Um, what we're calling this just a holiday kind of broadcast, talking about consumerism in the holidays, talking about the spirituality of the holidays, um, talking about being Jewish in the holidays.
Yeah. How does that work?
Yeah. So, yeah, I grew up in an area where there weren't a lot of Jewish people, and I have clear memories of us Christmas caroling, and people never knew what to do when they got to my house, and so they would sing, "We wish you a happy Hanukkah," and there would be my menorah in the window, like. Oh, I hated it. I used to beg my parents for Christmas decorations because I was so embarrassed, and it just felt so not festive, even though it's the festival of lights. I mean, the true story of Hanukkah is about a war. It's not like a beautiful story other than the lights lasting 8 days. So when I became an adult and I decided that a lot of these festive things make me very happy. And here I was on this journey to live my best life and to feel, I'm a person who always participates in anything fun. So to not participate, for everyone else to have their Christmas lights up in my neighborhood and we don't have anything, just didn't sit well with me. So now I have a Christmas tree or Hanukkah bush, as my husband likes to call it. And our whole house is decked out in lights. And, it makes me really happy. And it makes my kids really happy. And I'm not sure about my husband. I think it does. I think he's afraid to say it would make him happy because that goes against the Jew code. But it's
Does
pretty
he
cool.
put up the lights?
Huh? He puts
Does he
up
put
the
up the lights?
light.
Oh,
He
okay.
does. He
Oh,
does.
loves you.
Yes. And, it's interesting because we live in a cul-de-sac and pretty much everyone in the cul-de-sac is from another country, and Christmas is not really their holiday that they would celebrate. Same with me. And all of us have the best holiday lights up. We're not
So
even.
do you think you upped that ante for them? Like, do you think they looked at your house at some point and goes, well, and say, oh my gosh, we're this. Oh, sorry, something just fell over there. We're this faith, and so we need to keep up with her outstanding display.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know. I think it was like a group think thing. I think we all sort of fed off each other. And it's funny, this year my one neighbor switched to these really high lumen LED lights that are really nice. And
huh.
Kevin was like, the gauntlet's been thrown. I must upgrade our lights. And so now he's doing a whole big thing by choice. And I'm noticing the other neighbor is upgrading his lights. So I think you just kind of look outside and yeah, and you're like, oh, that looks really good. go onto Amazon, find something else. But
Did you watch that show? They had I think ABC used to have it where they had the competition, the Great Christmas Lights competition or something.
yeah,
So
every year. I
that's
love
great.
that show. Is that show still on?
I don't know if it is, but I remember seeing the ads for it. I didn't watch it, but so that's fascinating. So did you start doing this like so Kevin's Jewish too. How did you broach the subject with him? And did it start after like you moved into your neighborhood that you decided you were going to start doing this? And
Yeah.
I have a direction I think with the questioning that I'm going with this, but
Yeah. So originally we lived in a townhouse, and when the kids were little, I begged him to like let me do lights, and he was like, "Well, we can't do them outside, but if you want to do blue lights inside for Hanukkah, that would be fine." So then, and
you're
then,
like, I got it in. So blue
yeah,
lights this year,
and,
honey. Okay.
and then at Bed Bath and Beyond, they started selling like dreidel lights and like things like that. So that was kind of how I started. The Christmas tree, first of all, didn't happen until I moved into the house that I raised my kids in. And at first it was very small because the idea was it was a Hanukkah bush.
Right.
But this is the second year where we have like an over 6 foot tree. And my daughter was ultimately the one that got Kevin to change his mind. And just, she was like, come on, dad, and I made it my rainbow tree. I love anything rainbow colored. So the entire tree has that rainbow motif. It's,
You are celebrating the chakras. So there you go. It's your chakra tree.
it's my chakra tree.
Those are the colors of the rainbow. You can now officially say, as the spiritual maven in your house, that it's the chakra tree.
Yeah,
Um,
but the interesting thing about this too is for a long time, when I would have Jewish family come over, we
what'd your
would,
parents say?
well, they weren't thrilled. Now, they're in their 80s, they're much lighter about stuff like that. But we used to move the tree upstairs and it was so hard. We would carry the tree. It was little back then, but we would carry it upstairs and put all of the decorations and
Oh my
stuff
gosh.
there.
So
We didn't want to be judged, but now I can't, I couldn't do that if I wanted to. It was too big.
so as a gay person, I can tell you what you did was put yourself into the closet about being a Christmas celebrator because that's when, back in my generation, if you had like any any artwork up about being gay, like, any pictures of torsos or whatever, and your parents were coming over, you de-gayed your house. And so that's you de-Christmased your house.
That's
Um,
interesting.
but I think what your attachment to this, you said you've always felt like you were out of place because in your neighborhood when you were growing up, you did not weren't able to celebrate in this way. So I mean, I think you carved out a space where you're like, well, I'm not only left out, I'm in it. You know, all in
Yeah.
Christmas sweaters, ugly Christmas sweaters.
Yeah.
You have the spirit. If we, I mean, technically, Christmas started out as a pagan, celebration of the winter solstice.
Right.
And so, the Christianity part of it, only came to it much later. And so, I think that what you must have really attached yourself to is kind of the spirit of the season, which in our world now, where of course we are heavily commercialized with everything that we do. I mean, that's everything that we do has some sort of commercial attachment to it, but there is a spirit to it that guides that commercial attachment. And that's this beautiful feeling of connectedness and, love and joy, all those messages that we hear in the various Christmas carols. It feels like, especially as I know you, the you as an essence, this is something you want to celebrate. I think that's what you picked up on was this idea of, well, why aren't we all just celebrating peace on earth?
Yeah. And the light, I mean, the bright lights are just, I mean, I put lights out for Halloween too. Like lights are just bring me joy. I mean, and I would think a lot of people feel that way with sparkly and
Sure. I
yeah.
mean, now, I mean, we have lights all year round everywhere. So,
Yeah.
and now the world is set up with LED strips. Like everybody
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
colored lights and ambient lighting where, you've got this indirect, beautiful glow of your television or
Right.
dresser or whatever. So I think there's this element of just kind of beauty and quiet, I don't know, restful and ambient and meditative atmospheres that also the season brings.
But I definitely had to get past, there is a judgment associated with it, not certainly not with anybody outside of, my faith, which, we've talked before. I don't really identify so much with religion, but I do see myself as a cultural Jew. And, there's definitely disgust with other Jewish people who see stuff like that. I think they feel like I'm a traitor. Um, and there's always this fear with Jewish people, and especially this is a kind of a timely time as there's, a lot of
Anti-Semitism.
anti-Semitism going on. I think that they probably feel that if all of us sort of cave in and, become like Christians, that then another Holocaust could happen. That's always like the biggest fear with Jews, especially older Jews. But I chose to honor myself and my family over the judgment of the Jewish people. But that took me a really long time. I mean, in my 40s, I definitely was still hiding the tree upstairs. So
Oh,
no,
wow.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, well, I grew up in a suburban township where, I went to school with a lot of Jewish people, and actually I remember my earliest memories of being in kindergarten, and we did our little show and tell. I think it was either post or pre-Christmas or something, and a couple of my peers who were Jewish would show me that yes, their houses too, and they were kids growing up, had both Hanukkah and celebrated Christmas as well. So, I was never foreign to the idea. But I also, if we look at it as a spirit of the season, which can encompass the celebrations of, both, kind of the Judeo-Christian world, then there is a place for it. We kind of moving into one of the places that has carved it out and made it okay for, anybody to kind of attach to this is the commercialization of it, which is, which I think diehard Christians might say this is taking us out of what we were here to do. But at the same time, it allows for other people to become involved and not have to necessarily hide it, maybe as a way for you to, in some way, justify it if you needed to, by saying, this has become a secular experience, but the spirit of giving and the spirit of receiving and, sharing is still part of all of it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that talk about the commercialization and how terrible it is, and all the way back as far as Miracle on 34th Street, the original movie with Natalie Wood as a little kid, it's a subject, and I don't judge it. I enjoy it. I don't feel any disgust by it, and it sounds like you also are you're a present buyer. So,
Yeah, look, this is a show where I am completely honest, and I know you are too. And I would never want to pretend that I'm above things that I'm not, because, I definitely fall under the trappings of commercialism and consumerism. And, I think, I have always enjoyed presence. I hate to admit that, but I do think that's one of my love languages, giving and receiving. And, Yeah, I mean, once internet shopping started happening, it became that much easier. And, between buying for nieces and nephews and my kids and my husband, and of course, I'm buying this stuff on Black Friday on the internet, and then you're like, oh, this is a good deal. I'm gonna get myself that too.
Right, right, right.
Right. And before you know it, you spent even that much more money because now you bought yourself something. And then when these things come in, I'm like, well, do I wrap them up and gift them to myself? Or do I just admit that I just bought myself something at a time when you're really technically supposed to be buying for everyone else? So this is a big issue for me. I was really hoping this year that I would say, oh, instead of doing gifts, let's just, have an experience, or let's just whatever. But I find myself still falling into those old patterns. Now, is that because I get like 300 message emails a day reminding me of all these great
Great
sales,
deals. Yeah.
right? Maybe if I didn't have all that interference, because I don't really go out and physically shop so much anymore, unless it's like a TJ Maxx type of store. So it is weird that I don't know if it's the suggestions that we see on TV and in the email. The email is probably the hardest, or like we've discussed before, you're flipping through social media and there's something that you really like and it's
Yeah.
on super sale.
Yeah, and more times than ever, I'm finding something that I want for myself before I would even think about buying it for somebody else. So, I feel like I've always loved giving gifts, and there was a time where when my parents were around, and I've got a small family, and it seemed like it was always a manageable thing. So like I've got a finite set of people in my family. I know that they're the ones that are going to be under the same roof on Christmas morning, that are going to be opening presents. So I always enjoyed that. I feel like as I got older and as we as adults became more, just our consumer orientation meant that most of us as we got older really purchased or got for ourselves everything that we needed anyway. So there wasn't like, what am I going to buy somebody who really has, or if it's not like somebody's so rich they have everything they need. This is not the perspective. It's more like in our world, we get what we need anyway. So, but on occasion, I really enjoyed, like throughout the year, if I saw something for someone that was perfect for them, that I could buy it and kind of store it and use that as a Christmas gift to give away. I really don't buy presents for anybody this year, or any. I haven't for a long time. My family has kind of decided that's something we don't need to do. So, which kind of feels weird. And like my husband and I we treat ourselves a lot. So if we would say anything was a gift, we would acknowledge it as something we're getting for each other. We're going to New York this year for Christmas, which we've started to do. And that becomes, I don't need to do anything beyond that or try to like hit a moving target where I'm going to get somebody something that they don't want or need. My mom used to buy things and like, as we're opening them up saying, well, if you don't like it, you can take it back. And I'm like, okay, that's not the spirit of this gift. Like, whatever you get me, I'm going to like, which actually wasn't always true, but I acted like that it was, because the spirit is, you gave it to me, I'm going to say thank you, and I don't need to take it back unless I really liked it enough that it wasn't the right size. I wanted to make sure I got the right size so that I could wear it for you, or use it. So
Oh,
I'm really conflicted. I like.
yeah. And Rob, I don't know if you know, but like on Amazon now, you can write your wish list and then, of course, send it to lots of people. And our gift giving, as my kids are older, like they're in their early 20s now, they want specific things and they'll send me links. And there's always a lot of talk of that, because like you were saying, if somebody says to you, oh, if you don't like it, you can take it back. I mean, that is something I would probably say. That what happens is when you start to buy all these kids things that are on their lists, and that's the same for my nieces and nephews, you almost feel afraid to buy something that you genuinely like for that person because it wasn't on their list.
Right.
know?
Right.
So I always tell the kids, okay, I'll spend X amount of money for you. You can send me your list. And then there's going to be some surprises. Cause to me, gift giving is so much more exciting when it's surprises. However, how many times do you get a sweater like this or something that
Right.
you would open it and be like, I'm never going to wear this or whatever. I mean, and you paint that smile on your face. So that kind of makes it even harder. This whole like, do you get what you want or do you just be happy of the state of giving? I mean, certainly if friends, get me something and are just thoughtful, I mean, I would accept anything. But if my husband, gets me something and it's nothing like what I would like or whatever, you almost feel insulted of like, come on, you've been living with me all these years. You think I would like that? That kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think that's why, well, like with my niece and nephew, once they got old enough to be able to make decisions on their own, we got them gift cards every year. So that was how we kind of said, like, you guys are old enough to know what you want. So whatever, we got them from Target or from, whatever, from, Apple or from iTunes. So it became easier there. But now they're adults and they're getting their own. So, I feel like now, I guess if I was a place where I do like, being in situations where you're doing a Secret Santa. And so
Yeah.
you get to draw somebody's name. That's fun because then you're either thinking that you want something funny or you want to get them something that's really ideal. The pressure just keeps getting up though, because the more separated we get, the less I know people. I would resent my mom would say, "Where's your Christmas list?" Because I would feel like you did it that right out of the gate. Like if I've got to give you a list, you're just going to go out and buy what I'm giving you the list for. Well, then why don't I just buy those for myself and you buy the stuff for yourself that you need, and then we'll call it good. So I always started to resent not the commercialism of it, but the pressure of finding the perfect gift for people.
Right.
And after a while, I feel like I lost the skill to be able to do that because of the pressure of the day. When in the end, it was like, I was glad that we were all together and, we're able to be together,
And what really bothers me in gift giving? Because I think I'm an excellent gift giver. And what really bothers me is when people buy you something that they like, but it's not what you would like. And the art of true good gift giving is knowing the person that you're going to buy for and knowing what they like. Like, I love crystals, but I'm not going to give, people crystals who aren't into that,
Right, right.
like that wouldn't be fair. But I find that happens quite a bit. Like, you get these like lotions or candles, and I think to myself, like, I hate that smell. Why do they always get me that smell?
Right. So that's why I feel like, okay, I don't even want to put somebody in a position where they're giving me something that they didn't. I don't want to be thinking to myself, wow, thanks for this, but I hate it. You didn't know me. Why did you give this to me? Then there's a whole the regifting thing. Like, so now it becomes a whole pressure to the situation, which is what, like my husband's not really a Christmas celebrator, but it's because once he starts to see me get in my head about this stuff, he's like, well, this is why I don't like this. Like, why are you stressing out about the gift you're getting for your, whatever, for brother, your friend, or your colleague. So I get that. And I think that always brings me back to, okay, so what are we doing here? How am I going to sell this to somebody who doesn't, who wonders why we're all being pressured to feel and, experience this in a certain way when I'm in that, that kind of spiral myself. When in reality, what I would hope that we would all be able to get to the point where it's like we're just walking down the street, and like in the movie, I forget the one that has silver bells in it. Everybody's walking down the street at the end, singing silver bells with each other and waving, and that's the spirit that I really want. We're
Yeah.
together, where there's no pressure.
Yeah. I really, I mean, I would love that too. I don't know how to get off the hamster wheel. And I mean, I think one way certainly to do it is to, unsubscribe from every single email list and to not, I mean, but
But you
it's
like doing it though. It's something that fulfills you. Like you are literally, sharing your spirit with this. And I think as long as you're doing it in a way that it's like you're really not expecting anything back, this is how you do the holiday season because it is, you've taken on the secular aspects of the season, which are for the most part can be commercial, but like it's all reflective of your desire to just create a season of feeling good and exchanging, sharing. So
yeah.
it's who
But
you
I
are.
will say, yes, that is true. But like if my husband gets me like a crappy gift, it's really hard to just be like, it's I would be lying if I said I didn't have expectations that I would be receiving gifts that someone put thought and effort into. And I can tell the ones who aren't, like the lotions and the candles. And like, I mean, and that's fine. But yeah, I guess I do put a lot of time and thought into gift giving. And it's silly because it doesn't matter. And I have so many things in this house and I don't need another. If I never bought anything for the rest of my life, I would still have too much in this house.
Right,
So
right, right.
I know I don't need it. And I guess it's learning how to get off of this commercialism, consumerism wheel. I mean, I was saying to my husband the other day, we consume all the time,
Yeah, all the time.
whether it's, technology, buying stuff, um, eating too much, eating like we're always consuming. And isn't it interesting? We had a Saturday where we actually didn't consume anything except for, the bare minimum of the food that we needed to eat, but we didn't go out and we weren't watching anything until the evening, but during the day. And it
Right.
was really interesting because whenever I look back at my days, the ones that are the best are the ones where we're not consuming. So, how to get off that wheel, even with the TV, it's like once the TV goes on, we're both like, watching the TV. But we're not connecting except when we discuss the show afterwards. But I do think about that a lot, like how it's so pumped into our culture to consume.
Sure, sure. And I mean, and if we didn't become the world where, you know, um, I'm not just if the time suck for me has been, going down a YouTube hole or Instagram or looking at people's, that's one part of it. So if I'm on if I'm in a social media hole, yes, I'm consuming the social media content, but let me tell you, I'm also one who is like, I'm clicking on that Instagram ad, and before you know it, like our consumption is happening 365, 24/7. So if we're going to at least celebrate this whatever month between, Thanksgiving and the end of the year as a season of giving that consumerism, well, now I'm buying myself something. We're getting an Amazon delivery every other day for something, whether it's big or small. So where is this? Where is the specialness even of the season? We've now become consumers all the time, and they're selling you stuff that you didn't know that you needed, but there it is.
Mhm.
So, how do we rise above that, either to make this season of giving, if we're going to give something special, or, to not take the bait? I do take the bait as well. I take the bait like throughout the year. And that's so I'm not just looking at people's content and all the stuff that comes with that. I'm also like, oh, I just went down an Amazon hole. Like I just was looking at all these things and
Yeah.
putting into a cart that I don't need, but
Right. And even if you don't buy them, it's such a time suck
right,
that
right.
you look at, you just can't believe that you spent that much time like looking at the sweater and what does the sweater look at, this way, and could I get it cheaper here, and could I, and then you're like, wow, it's been an hour and a half of this sweater that I don't even
Right.
want or need.
Right. And while that's happening, you're getting all these other things that pop up. Like, I don't, the fact is, I think we all know now that like somehow our conversations are being tagged or recorded, or you could talk about one thing and say it aloud to somebody, which we probably will today. And it starts popping up as an algorithm to add in
Yeah.
your feed. So, you know,
And
people know me, like, and the minute a product comes up that it's like, oh, I really need this for this project I'm working on, or I just bought an eye roller the other day because we've talked about eyes and being on a live stream. So like I could have gone to the drugstore and bought one, or I could have bought this one that is specifically marketed toward men my age, and they're
Right.
rolling it on their eyes, and all of a sudden their dark circles disappear. Like, suck me in, I'm there.
And the worst is when you get those emails that say $20 off your purchase of $100, or so then you're like, you go down that rabbit hole of like, wow, that means I'm only spending $80. Let me just go on to the J. Crew website and see, could I
What else
find?
I can get, right?
Yeah, it's like those little coupons too are such a trigger for me. I'm like immediately like, oh, wow. Or they're going to give me, $20 back free. Well, then I got to use that $20. It's like, it's really crazy. So with our remaining time, which really is not very much.
I know. So I want to know then, how do we like say stop the madness?
Yeah.
How do we acknowledge this season as one that is, if we're not celebrating it because it's not necessarily our faith, how can we kind of get onto the bandwagon of the peace of the season, the kindness, the centering that we can, kind of take away or use as part of this season, um, and still enjoy the rest of the stuff for fun as well. I feel like that's
Well, I have a little idea. I used to do this thing that someone told me about. It was called, what was it called? 31 Days of Gifts or something. And every day you have to give yourself a gift, not a physical gift, although I guess it could be, but it was like, the gift of letting yourself sleep in, or the gift of whatever. And then you also, you give a gift for yourself and you give a gift to someone else. And that could be something we could do like for the month of January or something, where, or even now what's left of this month, and just, every day think to myself, okay, I'm going to do something in this world today that's going to help someone else, however that is. Even if it's like calling somebody that you haven't talked to in a long time and you know that they would be happy to hear from you, or holding a door for someone, or helping someone with their groceries or whatever, as well as giving yourself a gift that doesn't cost money, whatever that would be. Like, what do you think of that?
I love that idea. Yeah. So today's what, December? Today's December 15th, right? So
Oh, 13th.
13th. Okay. Time. Anyway, so we've got roughly, 2 weeks and a couple days left till the end of the
Yeah.
month. I think what a great idea. We can check in when we start our new season, our fifth
Yeah.
season, to kind of talk about what that was like. I love this idea.
Yeah, it's not my idea. It came from a chick named Cammie Walker, who I think has since passed. And because I know she wrote a book about it, and she was on the Today Show about it. I'm pretty sure it was like give a gift for 30 days or something like that. But I remember doing it with my spiritual groups. And yeah, I
We can
mean,
make it our own. Yeah, I love this idea. So we're gonna.
yeah. And I think in the meantime, I think that I'm speaking for myself right now. I don't want to shame myself for
You should. Oh, absolutely
enjoying
not. No.
the trappings of this holiday. And, because you're right, there is a lot of heart here with the gifts, that I spend a lot of time picking out for people, with the joy of watching them open that gift, with the good food and the great music and the just the whole experience of the lights and everything else. So I guess I would say to the world, if you are anything like me and you are a consumer, you know what? If you're in it, enjoy it. I mean, look, we were put here to experience all that there is to
Yes.
experience with our senses. And I'd rather, if I'm going to do it, I'd rather enjoy it than shame myself for it.
Absolutely. Right. How many times do we enjoy something and then guilt ourselves for it? What's the point then if we're going to do that? It's not worth it. So I agree with you. I kind of went through a period where I'm looking at the world feeling like, why are we doing this? What's the point of putting up a tree if I got to take it down again? Plus I have lights up all the time. My parents being gone really helped me. I feel like, okay, I want a tree every year. So we have a little, our house is tiny, we have a little tiny tree, but it's my way of kind of saying, I can enter into this season and use this time of reflection. And I love this idea of consciously, you know, gifting myself and somebody else of a cost-free experience. So I love that. And, I happily accept that challenge.
Yeah, maybe we'll, like you said, when we come back in January, maybe we will see if we can get our audience to participate in that and invite you guys to do that.
You're listening now. The clock starts now, and share with us what it feels like, what your gifts were, what you
Yeah,
might
give
be
a
giving.
gift, receive a gift every day that is not a financial one, that doesn't require money.
I love it.
Um,
I'm going
yeah,
to put a reminder on my phone to do that because sometimes I will forget when I start these things.
yeah. And we want to wish you guys the happiest of holidays, whatever that means to
Whatever
you,
you celebrate,
however
yes.
you celebrate. If you celebrate nothing, that's good to celebrate you. And so grateful to have you listening to us and watching us. And we're going to turn out some good content in 2023.
And yes, thanks for just being part of the conversation. Get involved yourself. But I, of course, love having these conversations with you whenever we have them, whether we're on or off camera. So thank you, Hilary. And
Thank you, Rob.
happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
And we'll see you
And
in
happy Hanukkah.
2023.
Yes, we will.
All right. Peace out.
Peace.